Hi there. So if you have listened to the Strong Start call and you've got those foundational parties in place, it's time to move on to talk about the next skill, which is probably the single most important skill that you'll need for the long-term and even short-term success of your business, and that's called host coaching. In a nutshell, host coaching is what we do outside of our parties to work with our hosts to help ensure the most successful party possible. And quite honestly, guys, it's the number one thing that is often glossed over or ignored by new consultants who, once they have parties in place, want to like run right into their kitchen and just play with all their products and practice recipes. And while that's important and you can do that, you do not want to gloss over host coaching. Because really, whatever happens at the parties is not nearly as important as how many people the hosts invite, how the host invites so that they can make sure the word is actually getting out there to people. You want to make sure that people who can't come know that they can place orders online or on paper and how to do that. You also want to make sure that people who can't make it to the party are aware of the fact that they could maybe host a party of their own to get free and discounted products. And these things all get done through host coaching. Okay, so do you see why host coaching is going to have more of an impact on your business than anything that happens at the party? I always say I'm living proof that you will get a lot further in this business by being an excellent host coacher and doing an okay party with an average of 10 to 12 people and 5 to 6 outside orders than doing a perfect party with no outside orders in front of 3 to 4 people. Okay, so host coaching. I'm very passionate about this. The home office has asked me to speak on this at many, many, many national conferences. Okay, so seriously, guys, you want to focus on host coaching. Now, before I get into the specifics of host coaching, I want to just touch upon a couple of important things to keep in mind. Number one, you want to schedule your host coaching. Just like you schedule your shows. If I had a show and I didn't put it in my calendar, I would probably forget about it and not show up. So guess what? I put my host coaching in my calendar as well, so I don't forget to do that. You can put it in your phone. You could write it in your paper calendar. I don't care how you do it. It's entirely up to you and how you organize your life. Some people say, okay, on Sundays, I'm going to call or connect with all my hosts who have parties coming up this coming week. And on Mondays, I'm going to connect with all my hosts who have parties coming up the following week. And on Tuesdays, I'm going to connect with all my hosts who have parties coming up in the next, 2 to 3 weeks. You can do it that way. Or you can put in your calendar, okay, the party is scheduled for the 17th, so 3 days before is when I'm going to want to send that little message via text or Facebook Messenger to my hosts about getting their last minute head count together. 2 weeks before that, I'm going to want to send them out that message about how to, invite through Facebook and how to use the message guest feature in the event. If you're wondering what the heck I'm talking about, don't worry, it's all in the attached documents that I have for you. All you have to do is copy and paste. So you can organize it that way. It's entirely up to you and whatever works best for you. All right? Another thing is when I host coach, whether it's an in-home party or a virtual party, it always includes one 10 to 15 minute phone call. And I just simply tell my host, we're going to want to schedule a phone call for about 10 to 15 minutes because I want to make sure you've got all the ideas and information you need to make this party the best it can be so you can get the most for free as you possibly can. And then I assure them the rest of it can be done through Facebook Messenger or text. I just need them on the phone that one time. So I don't find that I have a hard time getting them on the phone. They're usually pretty excited to hear what I've got to share with them. And then the third thing I want you to keep in mind is we can only work with the willing, okay? When we're working with our hosts, some of our hosts are open to every idea we give them. Some of them kind of pick and choose. Most of them do. And I tell them ideas I share are just that, ideas. They're not assignments. I say pick and choose the ones that are easy for you. But other hosts, we can't get them on the phone. They don't return our texts. They don't return our Facebook messages. They just kind of drop off the planet. Or if we can talk to them, they're not really open to the ideas. They just kind of say, no, you don't understand. That won't work for me. Okay, and it happens. But don't fret. Just do the best you can. Share ideas. And if they don't go with them, just know that that's sometimes how it happens, because we can only work with the willing. All right. Okay. Now the next thing I want to let you know about are resources that are available to you. Number one, on Pampered Chef University. Hopefully you've been there already. If you go onto Consultants Corner and you click Full Site, on the top right you'll see a square that is either orange or red, and it says PC University. You click on Getting Started, and one of the topics is host coaching. When you click on host coaching, you will see there a host coaching checklist. You can print that off and have it nearby when you're talking with your host to make sure you cover all the things you need to cover with them. There are invitations that you can use there. There's what's called a kit credit coupon. Because hosts who decide to join your team can use either $25 or $50 of what they earn for free as a host to put it toward the kit. So you can print out those kit coupons and put it in the host packets. Oh, by the way, there's a section on there of what you should put in your host packets so that your hosts have everything they need for their party. There's also a monthly tracker where you can keep track of, as you're sharing ideas with your host, how many people do they have in attendance? How many outside orders? How many outside bookings? And you can see, as you're working on your host coaching and becoming better and better at it, how those numbers are ticking up. Okay. Also in there's a section called Peer Sharing Resources in the host coaching section. These are audios and videos of real live consultants who have spoken at national conference, who have some of the highest show averages in the nation, and they share ideas on how to inspire hosts and how to help the host get higher attendance and outside orders. You don't have to listen to these all at once. You can listen to them in the car on the way to work or the way home from work, or if you want, you can listen to them before you go to sleep at night. But you know what? They are just a wealth of ideas. Okay, so take a listen to those. Don't feel like you have to come up with the ideas all on your own. And then, of course, there's other resources, like there's this video, me talking to you right now. There's also 2 documents that I'm going to be sharing with this video. One is a document that I've come up with tips on supporting your in-home party hosts, and then another one on supporting your virtual party hosts. In those are actual words to say that you can copy and paste into text or Facebook Messenger. This, I feel, fills in some of the gaps that might not be addressed in Pampered Chef University. Like most of us, our virtual parties are through Facebook, and even our in-home parties are promoted through Facebook events. And there's certain algorithms that that Facebook uses, and different things that that hosts can do in order because if all a host does is click to invite her friends through Facebook, most of the friends are not going to know that they've been invited to the party. So there's little things that we can do that we can share with our hosts that they can do in just a couple minutes a day to make sure the people that he or she has invited know that they've been invited. And all of those are shared in the supporting documents that I've given to you. So you won't have to come up with those ideas. You don't even have to come up with the words to say. You can just copy and paste them to your hosts. So those are available to you. Okay, so now I just want to talk to you about some of the specifics of host coaching. I feel like host coaching comes down to 4 basic steps. Number 1 is get the host excited and find out what her goals are. So when I do mostly in-home parties, so when I'm talking to my hosts and I've given them the host packet at the party and I've scheduled a time to talk with them in the next couple of days, at a time when they can have their host packet in front of them and it's kind of quiet on their end and mine, I'll say to them, okay, so before we get started, I want to know, what would you love to have in your kitchen from Pampered Chef by the time we're done with this party? Because I tell my hosts, I'll say, I think you can tell I have a ton of fun at my parties, but what really brings me joy is helping you get what you want in your kitchen for free or half price. So what are some to die for items for you that you don't want to be without? A lot of times they'll know right off the top of their head. Sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know, I haven't really had a chance to look yet. And I'll say, well, definitely look through the catalog and start making your wish list. Okay? Because I tell them most of my hosts end up with over $200 in free products. And they're usually pretty excited about that. And I'll say to them, would you like to aim for that? Would you enjoy over $200 worth of free products? And they usually say, yes, I would love that. And I'll say, okay, then we're going to want to aim for a $1,000 party. And sometimes they're a little skeptical. Oh, I don't know if my friends will spend that much. And I'll say, you know what? It really comes down to the number of orders. If you have about 15 to 18 orders, you will probably end up with a $1,000 party. So do you want to work with me? I find that if I work with most of my hosts pretty closely, that's very doable. So do you want to hear some ideas on how to make that happen? I've never had a host say, no, Karen, I don't want any ideas. And I'll say, okay. So then we move on to step number 2, which is building their guest list. Most of the time when I start talking with a host, and I'll say, you know, have you thought about who you're going to invite? Yeah, I have. Oh, I've got a couple of coworkers I'm inviting, and then my mom loves Pampered Chef, and then I've got a couple of neighbors, and maybe they've got a list of maybe 10 to 12 people that they're going to invite. But I'll say to them now, I don't want to, you know, discourage you or freak you out or anything, but in order to get 15 to 18 orders, it usually requires inviting about 3 times that many people. So about 45 or more people. And then I'll say, how do you feel about that? And notice I'm asking, how do you feel about that? Not, this is what you need to do. Invite this many people, because then they might be thinking, that's crazy. I don't know that many people. Or my house is too small. I couldn't possibly fit them in this place. So that's why I ask, how do you feel about inviting that many? Some of them say, oh, I can invite that many. I just figured, you know, my house wasn't that big, so I wouldn't invite quite that many. And what I usually tell them is, if you're lucky, statistically, about 1/3 of the local people that you invite will be free to make it that night, because we're a busy culture, so most people won't be able to make it. And then there's a few last minute cancellations because people get sick or their work schedules change. So really, if you invite 45, you'll probably have about 10 to 12 in attendance. But the other thing is, you'll probably have many of those people who can't come who will hop online and place outside orders. So that's why it's really important to invite that many. And then they're like, oh, okay. So then they're going to invite that many. Sometimes they say, oh, I don't know that many to invite. And so I say, oh, that's okay. How many do you feel like you could invite? Or how many are on your list so far? And they might say, oh, I've got about 12 or 15 people so far. And I say, oh, that's a great start. And you know what? That's where most of my hosts are at this point. But I find just by brainstorming for a couple of minutes, I can help most of my hosts get that list up to 45 or more. Do you want to see if I can help you too? Notice I'm asking permission. I don't want to just be talking at my host. I want to be working with them. I want them to be like, yeah, you can help me with that. And again, I've never had a host say, nope, you cannot help me with my guest list. Sometimes they'll say, I don't know if you can help me too much, but you can try. And I'll say, okay, so you've got about 10 to 12 people on your list so far. How do you know the people that are on your list? Have you invited coworkers? Yep, I've invited coworkers. And then I'll say, okay, have you invited all of your coworkers, or just a couple of the female coworkers that you're close to that you think will want to come? And very often they'll say, yeah, just a couple of them. I'll say, well, you're never going to hurt anybody's feelings by inviting them to a Pampered Chef party. Do you think you could expand it a little bit and invite all of your coworkers and have maybe a catalog handy for those who can't come or don't want to come but might want to check out the catalog and place an outside order? And sometimes they'll say, oh yeah, I never really thought about it that way. Yeah, I'm not going to hurt anybody's feelings. Sure, I guess I could invite more of them. And then I'll say, who else is on your list? Well, I got a couple family members. And I'll say, have you invited all your family members, or just the female local ones that you think will want to come to the party? And they say, yeah, just the ones who live nearby. And then I let them know, well, you know, the long distance people can just click a link to shop. So if you do you feel like you can add some of your long distance family or friends onto that list? Oh yeah, I never thought of that. And then I'll say, how many are on your list now? How many are we up to now? Oh gosh, now we're up to 23. Oh my gosh, that's great. And then I'll say, have you invited some neighbors? Yes, I've invited a couple of the neighbors. And then I'll say, are there any neighbors that you don't know as well, but that you'd like to get to know better? You know, it's a great way for the neighbors to all get to know each other. Because it's not like you're going to be sitting across the table from this person that you've never met before, or you've just kind of waved at and thought, what am I going to talk to them about? They're coming to a Pampered Chef party where it's going to be, I'm going to be there early with all the Pampered Chef stuff out. When they come in, you know, everybody's got food in common. So how do you feel about just inviting all your neighbors that are in walking distance? or at least a few more. And very often they'll add some neighbors onto their list. And then I'll say, do you have any kids? And if they say yes, I'll say, so how old are your children? And if they're preschool age, I'll say, do they go to daycare? And if they say yes, I'll say, how about some of the other daycare parents? Or how about the daycare providers? And they go, oh, I didn't even think of that. And they add a few more names down. If their kids are older and they're in school, I'll say, do your kids do any after-school activities? What about the parents you know through there? Or what about your kids' friends' parents? Or your kids' friends' babysitters? And maybe they'll add a few more names onto the list. And then I'll ask them, do you have a spouse? What about your spouse's coworkers? Your spouse's family? Your spouse's long distance family? And things like that. And all of a sudden they're adding more names on, and they're adding more names on. And I'm cheering them along every step of the way and going, okay, how many are on our list now? Our list, not your list. How many are we up to now? Oh gosh, we're up to 45. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. Okay, yeah. I bet we'll be able to get the 15 to 18 orders. Oh, you're totally gonna be looking at a few $100s in free product if this all goes, according to what it usually does when you have a list this size. Okay. So then the next thing is how to invite. So it's not just enough to say, okay, got this nice big list, and now they go onto Facebook and they just click and invite people. All right, because most people won't even know that they've been invited if that's all they do. So I work with my hosts. I let them know that I'm going to be messaging them quick little things that they can do to kind of make it kind of end up on their friends' radars that they're having a party. And that includes things like having my host post in the event. It includes having my host personally message guests through the event. There's actually a message guest feature in Facebook events where the host can go in and message all of the people who've been invited all at once, and it will go to each one of them individually. I'm not going to go into details about that because it's in the supporting documents that I've shared here. The words to say, to tell your hosts about how to access that and use it, it's all in there. Okay, and I also give them words to say for the last minute reminders. I also have my hosts go through as I'm posting and tagging their friends to kind of bring attention to the post, which also brings attention to the event itself. Okay, and then of course the ongoing support where I'm cheering my hosts on. I'm having them share with me what they're hearing from people, so that if they have some friends who are really disappointed about missing the party, that they could say to them, hey, what about having a party of your own on a day that works better for you? You can get some free products and I'll have my my consultant get in touch with you. Is that something you'd like me to do? All right, so those are the big things in a nutshell. Get your hosts excited, help them set a big goal for their party, and break it down not to the sales, but numbers of orders. And then let them know that means inviting usually 3 times that many. They want 15 orders, they usually got to reach out to about 45 people. Okay, and then how to invite so that the word actually gets out and onto their friends' radars. And then ongoing support with ideas. Okay, so like I said, words to support your in-home party hosts as well as your virtual party hosts. Tips to share with them are all in the supporting documents. You can feel free to use the words as is and just copy and paste, or if you want to adjust them slightly so that they reflect more your personality or style, that's fine. Now, once you've listened to this recording and you've checked out the supporting documents, message your director and let them know you've listened to the host coaching materials. And schedule a time to follow up so that you can, if you've got any clarifying questions about kind of how Facebook works and the whole message and guest thing and like that kind of stuff, we can explain that in more detail. If you've never set up a Facebook event, we can definitely help you out with that. Also, if you want to hear a real live host coaching call, contact your director. and reach out to one of your party hosts that's coming up. And you can say to that host, hey, I'm new with Pampered Chef. Thanks so much for being one of my first hosts. And by the way, one of the things I'm learning right now is a thing called host coaching. It's ideas that we share with hosts outside of the party to make the party as successful as it can be. So I was wondering if we could schedule a 3-way call with my trainer and you, so she can share tips and ideas that she shares with her host to have the party be really successful. She can share them with you while I take copious notes so I can have those ideas to share with my upcoming hosts. Okay, so you can kind of hear how that conversation happens. And especially if you've got a host who might not be super excited about hosting. When I was new and I asked my sister if she had a party, she was kind of begrudgingly doing it. She's like, okay, fine, if I have to. And she was not overly open to the ideas that I shared with her. So if you've got someone like that you think is going to be tough to coach, that's the person you want to choose to have a 3-way call with your director so that, let us have the shot at coaching this person. They might be at least a little polite to us, and also whatever hesitations or concerns that person might have is probably something that we as directors have heard many, many times before in our experience with hosting over the years, and I'm sure we can help you out with that person. All right, so host coaching, super, super important. Okay, and especially check out the ideas about having your host say to 2 friends. Who are 2 people who love you dearly, who would love for you to get the fill in the blank, quick cooker, rock, knife block set, whatever big ticket item that host wants, to say, are there 2 people who love you dearly who would love to see you get that for free? Most of the time, the host will say, well, sure. And I'll say, who are those people? Very often they'll say, well, like my mom, maybe my sister or a best friend or an aunt or coworker that they've worked with forever. And then I'll say to them, okay, do you think you could contact that person and say, hey, I'm having a Pampered Chef party. I'm so excited about getting this knife block set, but I'm just not sure if I know enough people who will want to order in order for me to get that knife block set for free or half price. So I was wondering, if I gave you a catalog, would you be willing to take it around for a day, either to work or to your family, to see if anybody you know needs anything or maybe wants to come to the party with you? And guys, this is like magic when I started doing this. Those 2 people usually say, sure. And they usually collect 2 or 3 orders each, and they very often bring somebody to the party as well. So think about it. Do the math. If an average order is about $50 a piece and you have an extra 6 orders on the party, that's an extra $300 in sales. But more importantly, when you're new in Pampered Chef, it means that the host isn't just inviting 8 people that you already know over to the house. And then one of those people books and invites the same 8 people back. And then one of those people books and invites the same people back. And all of a sudden in a couple months, they're like, hey, yeah, well, we've got enough Pampered Chef for now. Okay, when people reach out and they ask a couple of friends to take the catalog around to collect orders and invite to the party, now you've got a varied group. Now you've got people in that room that you don't know very well or that you don't know at all because they're friends of friends. And this is gold for your business because this means bookings beyond your family and friends circle. So not only does really good host coaching mean way more sales for your party, but it usually means way more bookings, and it means that you are quickly building that bridge between the people you know to what I call the great beyond and that whole wide world of people out there with mouths to feed and kitchens to fill with Pampered Chef products. Okay? That wording is also in the documents that I've shared with you. So do you see why host coaching is super, super important? So make it a top priority and work with your director to make it as effective as it can be. Okay? Talk to you soon.